A billionaire walks into his maid's room by mistake, and what he sees will change everything. But here's the twist: she was waiting for him. For weeks, this maid has been orchestrating the perfect trap. Every smile, every accidental encounter, every vulnerable moment, all planned. And it's working. Watch as revenge becomes love, or love becomes the ultimate weapon. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, please let us know in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, or Jamaica. We want to know. It was a humid Thursday afternoon when billionaire Wilfred Oliver, popularly known as Ronaldo, canceled his emergency board meeting. His wife, Jennifer, had left 3 days prior for a month-long European spa retreat, something she did every year without fail. The mansion felt different in her absence, quieter, emptier, and strangely more breathable. Wilfred loosened his tie as he stepped through the front door, tossing his briefcase onto the marble floor. No one expected him home. Not the chef, not the driver, and certainly not the new maid, Sophia. Or so he thought. Upstairs in the East Wing guest room, Sophia stood before the mirror. She had been waiting for this moment for weeks. Her fingers trembled slightly as she unbuttoned her uniform, letting the fabric slip from her shoulders with calculated slowness. The door behind her was open, not wide, but just enough, a sliver of light, a deliberate mistake. She had watched him, studied him, knew his routines better than his own wife did. Jennifer had been cruel and wicked to her from the first day, snapping at others, belittling her in front of guests, reminding her daily that she was just the poor maid. Sophia has smiled through it all, bowing her head like a loyal servant. But loyalty wasn't what burned in her chest. It was something darker, something patient. And now Wilfred was home early. She heard his footsteps on the stairs. Her heart raced, but she didn't move. She kept her back to the door, skin glowing in the afternoon light. Every curve is framed perfectly by the mirror's reflection. She counted the seconds. 3, 2, 1. The door creaked open wider. Wilfred froze in the hallway, his breath catching in his throat. His eyes locked onto the mirror, onto her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Time suspended itself in that single stolen glance. Sophia turned slowly, her eyes wide with faint shock. She gasped softly, clutching a robe to her chest. "Mr. Oliver, I didn't know you were home," she stammered, her cheeks flushing with what looked like embarrassment. Wilfred stepped back immediately, his hand gripping the door frame. "I'm sorry. I wasn't. God. I'm sorry." He turned away, but not before she saw the way his gaze lingered. Not before she saw the way his jaw tightened. Not before she knew that the trap had been set. "It's all right, sir," she called softly from behind the door. I should have closed it properly, but she hadn't, and she knew why. That night, Wilfred couldn't sleep. He lay in his king-sized bed, which he shared with Jennifer, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over again. The curve of Sophia's shoulder, the vulnerability in her eyes, the way she had looked at him, not with fear, but with something softer, something inviting. He told himself it was an accident, a harmless mistake, but his mind refused to let it go. Downstairs, Sophia smiled in the darkness of her small room. Phase 1 was complete. The next morning, Wilfred found himself wandering into the kitchen earlier than usual. Sophia was there preparing breakfast with her usual grace. She looked up when he entered, and for a brief second, their eyes met. "Good morning, Mr. Oliver," she said warmly. But there was a new softness in her voice, a subtle intimacy that hadn't been there before. "Morning," he replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee. He tried to sound casual, but his hands were unsteady. She turned back to the stove, humming quietly. Wilfred watched her move, noting how her hair fell across her shoulders and how she swayed slightly to some unheard melody. She wasn't like Jennifer. Jennifer was sharp, with cold perfection. Sophia was warmth and ease. "I wanted to apologize again," he said suddenly. About yesterday, she turned to him, her expression gentle. There's nothing to apologize for, sir. It was my fault. Still, I should have knocked. She smiled. A small secret smile that made his chest tighten. You're kind. Not many men in your position would even care. The words hung in the air between them. Wilfred swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. She had said it so simply, so sincerely, and yet it felt like a confession. Your wife is lucky, Sophia added softly, turning back to the stove. But Wilfred didn't feel lucky. For the first time in years, he felt something else entirely. He felt seen. Over the following days, Wilfred found excuses to be home. Meetings were rescheduled. Calls were delegated. He told himself it was fatigue, stress, the need for a break. But deep down he knew the truth. He was looking for her. Sophia played her role perfectly. She was always nearby, cleaning the study while he walked, watering plants in the hallway when he passed, folding linen in the laundry room when he happened to walk by. Each encounter seemed accidental. Each smile seemed innocent, but nothing about it was accidental. One afternoon, Wilfred found her in the library reaching for a book on the top shelf. She stood on her toes, stretching, her shirt riding up slightly to reveal the curve of her waist. Let me help, he offered, stepping closer. She turned, startled, and lost her balance. He caught her instinctively, his hands gripping her arms to steady her. For a moment, they were inches apart, her breath warm against his neck. Thank you, she whispered, her eyes searching his. He should have let go. He should have stepped back, but he didn't. You're always helping me, she said softly. Even though I'm just don't say that. Her lips parted in surprise. Say what? That you're just a maid. You're not. The words came out harsher than he intended, but they were true. He had started noticing things. How hard she worked. How kind she was to the other staff. How she smiled even when no one was watching. She wasn't just a maid. She was something more. And Sophia knew it. She could see it in his eyes. The way he looked at her now, like she mattered, like she was worth something. She lowered her gaze, playing the part of the humble servant. You're too kind, Mr. Oliver. Wilfred, he said quietly. Call me Wilfred. She looked up at him then, her expression soft and vulnerable. Wilfred, she repeated as if tasting the name. And in that moment, the line between employer and employee blurred completely. That night, Wilfred sat alone in his study, a glass of whiskey in his hand. His phone buzzed with a message from Jennifer. She was having a wonderful time in Paris. She'd extended her trip by another week. He stared at the message feeling nothing. When had that happened? When had his wife become a stranger? When had coming home stopped feeling like coming home? He thought of Sophia. The way she laughed, the way she listened when he spoke, the way she made him feel like he wasn't just a wallet or a title. She made him feel human. And God, he hadn't felt that in years. Downstairs, Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the photo she kept hidden in her drawer. It was of her mother, a woman who had once worked in this very house, who had been fired by Jennifer for a mistake she didn't make. A woman who had died 2 years later, broken and penniless. Sophia traced her mother's face with her finger, her jaw tightening. I'll make her pay, she whispered into the darkness. I'll take everything she loves. And Wilfred Oliver was just the beginning. The next week, Wilfred invited Sophia to join him for tea in the garden. It was a bold move, one that surprised even himself, but he couldn't help it. He wanted to know her, to understand her. She accepted with a shy smile, sitting across from him on the stone bench beneath the oak tree. Tell me about yourself, he said. She hesitated as if the question was foreign to her. There's not much to tell, sir. I doubt that, he replied. Everyone has a story. She looked down at her hands, her voice soft. My mother raised me alone. She worked hard all her life, but it wasn't enough. She died before I could give her the life she deserved. Wilfred felt a pang of sympathy. I'm sorry. Sophia looked up at him, her eyes glistening. She taught me that strength isn't about power, It's about surviving, about knowing your worth even when no one else does. Wilfred nodded slowly, moved by her honesty. She sounds like an incredible woman. She was, Sophia said, and I miss her every day. What Wilfred didn't know was that every word was true and yet crafted. Every tear was real but weaponized. Sophia had learned long ago that vulnerability was the sharpest blade, and she was carving her way into his heart with precision. As the days passed, Wilfred began pulling away from his work. His phone calls with Jennifer grew shorter, more distant. He stopped asking when she ripped on. He stopped caring because every time he walked through the door, Sophia was there smiling, present, real. One evening he found her in the music room, sitting at the piano. She didn't notice him at first, her fingers moving gently across the keys, playing a melancholy tune. I didn't know you played, he said softly. She looked up, startled, then smiled. My mother taught me. It's one of the few things I have left of her. He stepped closer, captivated. It's beautiful. She was beautiful, Sophia replied. Inside and out. He sat beside her on the bench, and without thinking, he placed his hand over hers on the keys. The touch sent a jolt through both of them. She didn't pull away. Wilfred, she whispered, her voice trembling. We shouldn't. I know, he said, but he didn't move. They sat there in silence, the air thick with unspoken desire. And in that moment, Wilfred knew he had crossed a line he could never uncross. The next morning, Wilfred woke up to a text from Jennifer. She was coming home early. Something about missing the house, missing him. Panic flooded his chest. He looked at his phone, then at the ceiling, his mind racing. He thought of Sophia, of the way she made him feel alive, of the way she looked at him like he was more than just a name or a bank account. And he thought of Jennifer, cold, distant, a wife in title only. He didn't want Jennifer to come home. And that realization terrified him. When Sophia heard the news, she didn't panic. She smiled. Everything was going exactly as planned. Jennifer returned to the mansion like a storm rolling in, elegant, commanding, and utterly unaware of the shift that had occurred in her absence. She swept through the front doors in a tailored crimson, her designer luggage trailing behind her, carried by the driver. Wilfred, she called, her voice echoing through the grand foyer. He appeared at the top of the stairs, his expression carefully neutral. Jennifer, you're back early. I missed you, she said, though her tone lacked warmth. It was rehearsed, obligatory. She kissed his cheek as he descended the stairs, but he barely leaned in. Sophia watched from the shadows of the hallway, her heart pounding with anticipation. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The collision, the unraveling. Jennifer's eyes scanned the foyer, landing on Sophia. Her expression shifted immediately, lips sing into something cold and dismissive. You, she said with a sharp tone. Why are you standing there? Bring my luggage to my room and make sure the bedroom is spotless. Sophia lowered her head, her voice soft and submissive. Yes, Madame Oliver. But as she passed Wilfred, their eyes met for the briefest second, and in that glance, everything was said. Jennifer noticed the tension between them, but felt nothing was serious. She was already moving on, chattering about Paris, the hotels, the food, oblivious to the fact that her husband's attention was elsewhere. That night, Wilfred lay beside Jennifer in their bed, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled through her phone. She barely acknowledged him. She never did. I'm exhausted, she said, setting her phone on the nightstand. Good night. She turned away from him, pulling the covers up to her shoulders. Within minutes, she was asleep. Wilfred lay there in the darkness, feeling more alone than ever. And all he could think about was Sophia. The way she smiled at him, the way she listened, the way she made him feel seen. He closed his eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Downstairs, Sophia lay awake as well, her mind racing. She had planted the seed. Now she just had to let it grow. Over the following days, Wilfred became distant. He avoided Jennifer's touch. He skipped dinners. He buried himself in his study, claiming work was overwhelming. But Jennifer wasn't stupid. She noticed. "What's wrong with you?" she demanded one evening, standing in the doorway of his study. He didn't look up from his laptop. "I am busy." "You are always busy," she snapped. "But this is different. You're different." He finally met her gaze, and for the first time in their marriage, he didn't bother hiding the truth. "Maybe I am." Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "Is there someone else?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Wilfred didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. Jennifer's face flushed with anger. "Don't be ridiculous. Who would you even?" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as a realization dawned. "No, you can't be serious." Wilfred said nothing. "The maid," Jennifer hissed, her voice rising. "You are infatuated with the maid." "Don't call her that," Wilfred said quietly, his voice steady. "Oh my God, you've lost your mind." "Maybe, or maybe I've finally woken up." Jennifer stared at him, stunned. Then she turned on her heel and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Wilfred sat alone in the silence, his heart pounding. There was no going back now. The next morning, Jennifer summoned Sophia to the sitting room. She stood by the window, arms crossed, her expression icy. "Close the door," she ordered. Sophia obeyed, her heart racing. She'd kept her face neutral, her posture submissive. Jennifer turned to face her, her eyes cold and calculating. "I know what you are doing." Sophia blinked, feigning confusion. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Oliver. I don't understand." "Don't play dumb with me," Jennifer snapped. "I see the way you look at him, the way you hover around him like some pathetic little shadow." Sophia lowered her gaze. "I'm just doing my job, Ma." "Your job?" Jennifer stepped closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Your job is to clean, to serve, to stay invisible. But you've been doing something else, haven't you?" Sophia's hands trembled slightly. But she didn't respond. "Let me make something very clear. You are nothing. You will always be nothing. And if you think for one second that my husband would ever choose someone like you over me, you are delusional." Sophia finally looked up, meeting Jennifer's gaze, and for the first time, she let a hint of defiance slip through. "Maybe he already has, and you should start showing me respect." Jennifer's hand flew across Sophia's face before she could stop herself. The slap echoed through the room. Sophia stumbled back, her hand flying to her cheek. Tears welled in her eyes, not from pain, but from satisfaction. This was exactly what she needed. "Get out," she hissed. "Pack your things and get out of my house." Sophia chuckled. "This is my house to... I don't take orders from you again. Wilfred loves me now." The door opened. Wilfred stood in the doorway, his expression dark. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded. Jennifer turned to him, her chest heaving. "I'm firing her." She's been what?" Wilfred interrupted, stepping into the room. His eyes landed on Sophia's reddened cheek and his jaw tightened. "Did you hit her?" "She deserved it." Jennifer shot back. "No one deserves that." Jennifer stared at him in disbelief. "You are defending her? Are you serious right now?" "Yes," Wilfred said simply. "I am." The air in the room grew thick. Jennifer looked between her husband and the maid, her face twisting with fury and humiliation. "You've chosen her," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You've actually chosen her." Wilfred did not deny it. Jennifer's composure was shattered. She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the room, her heels clicking furiously against the marble floor. The front door slammed moments later. "Are you all right?" Wilfred turned to Sophia, his expression softening. She nodded, wiping away a tear. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Wilfred said gently. He reached out, brushing his thumb across her bruised cheek. "She did." And in that moment, Sophia knew she had won. The days that followed were chaos. Jennifer moved into the guest house on the property, refusing to leave, but unwilling to share a space with Wilfred. Lawyers were called, threats were made, and the other staffs whispered in corners. But through it all, Wilfred stayed close to Sophia. He defended her, protected her, believed her. She played her part beautifully, grateful, humble, reluctant. She told him she didn't want to come between him and his wife. She told him she would leave if it meant peace. Deep down, it was all according to her plan. Wilfred, already falling deep into the trap, wouldn't let her go. "I need you," he told her one night, holding her hands in his. "I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, you became the most important person in my life." Sophia looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I never meant for this to happen." "Neither did I," Wilfred whispered. "But I'm not sorry it did." He kissed her, softly at first, then deeper as if he had been holding back for too long. And Sophia kissed him back, knowing that with every touch, every word, every moment, she was dismantling Jennifer's world piece by piece. Weeks passed. Jennifer filed for divorce. The media caught wind of the scandal. The billionaire, popularly known as Ronaldo, leaves his wife for a maid. Headlines screamed. Social circles buzzed with gossip. But Wilfred didn't care. He had made his choice. Sophia moved into the main house. She no longer wore a uniform. She sat beside Wilfred at dinners. She accompanied him to events. She smiled for the cameras. And Jennifer watched it all from a distance, broken and humiliated, unable to comprehend how the woman she had once belittled had become her equal, no, her superior. One night, as Wilfred slept beside her, Sophia slipped out of bed and stood by the window, looking out at the sprawling estate. She thought of her mother, of the years of suffering, of the injustice that never surfaced, and she smiled because this wasn't love. It was revenge, and it was perfect. Is Sophia right for stealing someone's husband? Do you think Wilfred fell too easily for the trap? If you were Jennifer, would you just let it happen like this? Do you think Jennifer's wickedness is the cause of her downfall? Let me know what you think in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Please subscribe and like for more interesting stories like this. Don't forget to share with friends, and remember, being a wicked boss could cost you a lot.